welcome Stephanie to who is speaking about.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm going to be speaking today about making our weekends a little bit longer and our work weeks a little bit shorter. So, how many of you feel as though you spend your entire week living for the weekend? Okay, so seems like there's a pretty good consensus in the room. I'm sure a lot of you then feel that you spend the week thinking this next hour is getting me 1 hour closer to the weekend, 1 hour closer to that time when I can do nothing. But do you actually do nothing on your weekends, or do you find yourself caught up in chores and other activities and things that you have to get done in addition to your time for nothingness? I'm sure you have time to spend with family and friends and things like that, but you also have time where you have to clean up, pay the bills, things like that. And actually, as a culture, we don't spend enough time on leisure activities and things of this sort. So perhaps that's why our weekends feel like they go by so fast, because even though we want to be spending them on things that we're excited about, not so much. So that makes our weekends go by quickly. Think about the last 3-day weekend you had. You probably spent a little bit more time doing things that you wanted to be doing, going out to lunch with friends or movies maybe. Some might have taken a weekend away, visited family, and you probably were a little bit more productive with the things that you had to get done that week. So I suggest that we bring about this 3-day weekend more frequently, maybe perhaps every week. Today I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons to instituting a 3-day weekend. So I'm going to start by talking about the state of Utah, where government officials have mandated a 3-day weekend for government employees. And I'm going to talk about that system and then the pros and cons using that as our example. So in August 2008, the state of Utah decided to mandate that government officials would only work Monday through Thursday, instituting a little bit of a TGIT mentality. Thank God it's Thursday instead of thank God it's Friday. And they actually did this as an effort to lower costs. What you might think is the cost would be used to lower employee salaries and payrolls, but it was actually for energy costs, because by having the employees go home on Fridays, they could shut down the offices, decrease light usage and heating and air conditioning and things like that. And they estimated that it would save them about $3 million a year by cutting this down, and actually has decreased their costs by 13%. So the costs are their main priority, but it also led to a decrease in commuter congestion, carbon emissions decreased because there were 20% less people on the roads on Fridays and during the regular rush hours. So there's good benefits to drive down costs. And actually, did you know that our 2-day weekend was also instituted originally to bring down costs? Does anyone know who brought about the 2-day weekend?
Labor unions.
It was Ford, so kind of along the same lines. Labor unions probably have much to do too, but Ford thought that by giving his employees an extra day to the weekend, they would be significantly happier in the workplace, leading them to stay with Ford's company instead of going to other companies, which brings down his turnover costs, which were pretty high for him at the time. And Ford, which is the Hoover, also benefited him because his employees are also his customers. So another great benefit to adding the 3rd day to the weekend, like we talked about earlier, is that you're more likely to go out and spend your money going to foods, restaurants, and things of that nature. I'm sure people avoid the supermarket Saturday morning, restaurants on Friday and Saturday, reservations. So this would be very beneficial for your state economies if you were able to institute something like this. But of course, with every benefit, there comes costs associated with it, and there's some things that people will probably be pretty concerned about. By reducing the work week from Monday through Thursday and canceling out your Friday, some people might think they might lose hours, which would bring down your state costs if you decide to do that. But the state of Utah, for example, actually just increases their hours from the Monday through Thursday, making their work day 10 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day. So positives and negatives to that. Some people really enjoy this. They get their Friday off, but they have to stay a little bit longer during the week, while other people contributed this to higher levels of stress. So the longer hours also prevented them from working after work, like making dinner for the family and things like that. They didn't get home until later in the afternoon. They were unable to do things like that. And another issue that could be brought up, since these are government officials, is that your government offices are closed on Friday, and some people might use these offices during that time, and they wouldn't be able to. But the extended hours might be more useful for people who work regularly 9 to 5, being open until later in the evening might actually benefit them. So overall, there's some costs and some benefits associated to a 3-day weekend, but with a culture like ours where we have low work-life balance and low focus on leisure time, perhaps this would be significantly better for states like yours.
What effect do you think that the longer days during a shorter week has on productivity? Because I know I can only sit at a desk for so long.
Right, so that was one of the things that they brought up in Utah, was that people felt that they were less productive in those additional hours. So I know, how productive are government offices, like the DMV, I don't know what you really get out of there. So, yeah, but it's definitely a valid.
2 weeks ago, Yahoo came out with an article saying that a high percentage of people don't actually take the extra 2 weeks vacation that they're given in America, just because people are basically workaholics and like working. So like, what would be your response? Like, if people are not even taking a 2 weeks vacation and have 2 days off, like how would you justify even 3 days off? Like,
So originally when I thought about this, it was like, how great it would be to have a 3-day weekend for everyone, but it's really only beneficial in like small markets, right? You can't tell a businessman that they should not have their business open on Fridays. Or my dad, he works in the finance department, like finance firm. There's no way he could ever. He works 10 hours a day as it is, So it's like he could never ever miss his Friday work. So I think if you look more at the focus of the government market, you would see that they probably do take their 2-week break.
I have heard in terms of worker morale that this 4-day week is really beneficial because leaving Friday open allows the company to schedule other things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to schedule during work time. And I hear it's like it just kind of connects the employee force a little bit more, which helps with productivity. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, and also a lot of people reported nowadays, a lot of people when they go in to get jobs, they look more at the benefits like the health care and like the days off and time spent with family, not so much on the cost. I think we even talked about this a little bit earlier in the year. So something like this would be good for like stay-at-home mothers or people who want to be working but are also mothers. This would allow them to maybe volunteer at their kids' school on Fridays and do things like that. So it definitely, like even Ford said, if the worker is happier, it decreases turnover costs, increases productivity and things like that. So definitely it's.
Okay, great. Oh, sorry, General. I'm going to cut down back 3 questions.
If we're trying to go time out.
Yeah, okay, all right.